Welcome to class 10th biology children. Today we are going to discuss textbook page number 29, 30 and 31. Okay. In page number 29 we have a topic epiglottis and passage of air. Epiglottis. What do you know epiglottis? If you open your mouth or buccal cavity, there is a chance to see one bell-like apparatus that is called epiglottis. Okay, now we are going to observe that epiglottis. All of you observe in this figure. Okay, here this is tongue. These are teeth. Next, what in about this? This is epiglottis. If you open your mouth or oral cavity, there is a chance to see one bell-like apparatus that is called epiglottis. What is the use of this epiglottis? This epiglottis is acts as like a traffic police in our body. It is useful to send the food materials and useful to send the air through it. So here this is one path. Next this side another path. So two paths are there. Through one path air can be entered into our lungs. Through another path food materials will enter. During the passage of food materials and air, it acts as like a traffic police, and it can send the food materials and air one by one continuously without disturbing. Now observe in this figure. This is tongue. This part is mouth. If you take the food materials into your mouth by using tongue and teeth, we can grind the food materials. These grinded food materials simply moves through the mouth, and they will enter into this area. Here we have epiglottis. This epiglottis, already I shown you that epiglottis. This epiglottis can separate the pathway of air and pathway of food materials. When we swallow the food materials, here what do you know about this part? This is esophagus. Those food materials will simply move through this esophagus, and at the same time this epiglottis covers which part? This tube is trachea. It covers the trachea. If you take the air through the nose, then what will happen? This epiglottis moves this direction. So what will happen? Esophagus will be closed and trachea will be opened. With the help of trachea, what will happen? Air will enter into our lungs. Okay, so if you take the air through nose, then what will happen? The air will move through this path and finally it reaches epiglottis. Then epiglottis covers esophagus and it sends the air through trachea. Otherwise, if you chew the food materials, the chewed and crushed food material simply enters near to the epiglottis. Then epiglottis covers the trachea and food materials will enters into the esophagus. Esophagus is also called food pipe. Esophagus, after food materials will enters into stomach, small intestine, larger intestine. Already we know about it. Okay. So if epiglottis fails sometimes, then what will happen? We will get choking. Choking means పొలమారటం. సో ఏం జరుగుతుంది? కొన్నిసార్లు మనం ఫుడ్ తినేటప్పుడు నవ్వటం కానీ బిగ్గరగా మాట్లాడడం కానీ చేయడం వల్ల ఈ ఎపిగ్లాటిస్ అనేది ఫెయిల్ అవుతుంది అనమాట. అంటే ఫుడ్ ఏ ప్లేస్లోకి వెళ్తుంది? ఈ ట్రాకియాలోకి వెళ్తుంది. ఓకే, ఈసోఫాగస్లో కాకుండా ట్రాకియాలోకి వెళ్ళిపోతుంది కొన్నిసార్లు. సో అప్పుడు ఏం జరుగుతుందంటే మనకి చాకింగ్, పొలమారడం అనేది జరుగుతుంది అనమాట. ఓకేనా? కమ్ టు ద నెక్స్ట్ వన్. ఇన్ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ పేజ్ నెంబర్ 19 we have two figures, figure 5a and figure 5b. Figure 5a indicates breathing. So here if you observe arrow marks are in front side. Arrow marks are in front side tube like structure that we call as trachea. If arrow marks are in back side tube like structure, that we call swallowing. Okay, that process we call swallowing. Or in breathing, aeromox, or in front side tube. In swallowing, aeromox in back side tube. Okay, so here back side tube is esophagus and front side tube is what it is, trachea. So these two are useful for the passage of materials. Here in front side tube, air can be entered into our lungs. Next, through the back side tube, what will happen, food materials will enter into our internal system. So epiglottis and passage of air topic can gives us information about how the food materials enters into our internal system and how the air enters into our lungs. Okay, now we are going to discuss next topic. Come to page number 30. So in this page number 30, if we observe figure 6, movement of diaphragm. First, what do you know about diaphragm? Diaphragm means some flexible muscles and chest wall muscles. These all are chest wall muscles. These are chest wall muscles. So these are also chest wall muscles. Along with these chest wall muscles, some flexible muscles we have. So these chest wall muscles and flexible muscles are commonly called diaphragm. See, look at this. This is diaphragm. Okay, this is totally diaphragm. So here this diaphragm plays an important role during the inhalation and exhalation. In respiration process, mainly we will take atmospheric gases and we will release internal gases from our body. Okay, so during the respiration process, this diaphragm plays an important role. How does it changes its shapes? We are going to discuss. Before going to discuss that mechanism, look at this diagram. So these are rib bones. We have rib cage. That rib cage bones, these are chest wall muscles. Chest wall contains some muscles and also bones in it. These are lungs. How many lungs we have? 2 lungs. This is one lung. Next, this is another lung. What do you know about this? This is heart. Heart is presented in between 2 lungs. This is trachea. Okay, trachea. This trachea is divided into 2 branches. These branches we call as bronchi. Do you know one important point about lungs? If you spread our lungs, it occupies 160 meter square area. 160 meter square area, which is equal to a tennis court size. Okay. Next, our lungs capacity is 5800 ml. Our lungs capacity is 5800 ml air. It can stores up to 5800 ml of air in it. Okay, during inhalation and exhalation at the time of resting period, our lungs can have 500 ml of air in it during rest time, in inhalation or in exhalation time. But after vigorous exercise, if you remove the air from your lungs, means if you done the exhalation, our lungs contains 1200 ml of air in it. Okay, after complete exhalation, our lungs remains how many ml of air? 1200 ml air. Next, during rest period in inhalation and exhalation, during inhalation and exhalation, our lungs contains nearly 500 ml of air in it. What is the total capacity of our lung? 5800 ml of air it can stores. Okay, so if you observe our lungs can be protected by 2 membranes. These membranes are called pleural membranes. Which membranes? Pleural membranes. In these membranes, there is a chance to see one fluid. That fluid is called pleura. Which fluid? Pleura. Our lungs are protected by a membrane. That membrane is called pleural membrane. Next, in this pleural membrane, there is a chance to see a fluid. That fluid is called pleura. What is the use of this pleura? This pleura is useful to protect our lungs from external shocks and jerks. External shocks and jerks. Okay. Next, one more time we are going to discuss about the important points of our lungs. What is the capacity, total capacity of our lungs? 5800 ml. In the time of resting state, during inhalation and exhalation, how many ml of air can be seen in our lungs? 500 ml. Next, after vigorous size and after complete exhalation, how many ml of air can be seen in our lungs? 1200 ml of air can be seen. Next, our lungs are protected by membranes. These membranes are called pleural membrane. How many membranes are there? Two membranes. In between these two membranes, a fluid is presented. That fluid is called pleura. Which fluid? Pleura. What is the use of pleura? Pleura is useful to protect our lungs from external shocks and jerks. Okay, now we are going to discuss the role of diaphragm during inhalation and exhalation. See, here in figure 7, movement of rib cage during inhalation and exhalation. So during inhalation process, next during exhalation process, the diaphragm plays an important role. So how does it changes its shapes? Now we are going to discuss. If you observe your chest area during inhalation, then what will happen? During inhalation process, the volume of the chest cavity is increased. Okay, so its internal pressure decreases in our lungs. As a result of this, outside air rushes into the lungs. This is called inhalation process. ఇన్హాలేషన్లో ఏం జరుగుతుంది? మనం ఎయిర్ని లోపలికి తీసుకుంటాం. లోపలికి తీసుకోవాలంటే మన లంగ్స్లో ప్రెషర్ ఏమవుతుంది? డిక్రీజ్ అవుతుంది. డిక్రీజ్ అవ్వడం వల్ల అంటే ప్రెషర్ తక్కువగా ఉంటుంది. లంగ్స్లో ప్రెషర్ అనేది తక్కువగా ఉంటుంది. అవుట్ సైడ్ ఎయిర్ ఎలా ఉంటుంది? హై ప్రెషర్లో ఉంటుంది. సో దానివల్ల ఏం జరుగుతుంది? హై ప్రెషర్లో ఉంచి ఎయిర్ అనేది లో ప్రెషర్కి వెళ్తుంది. అంటే బయట నుంచి ఫోర్సబుల్గా ఎయిర్ అనేది లోపలికి వెళ్తుంది. ఆ టైంలో మన చెస్ట్ క్యావిటీ ఏమవుతుంది అంటే పొట్ట ఏమవుతుంది? పొట్ట ఇంకా చెస్ట్ ఫ్రంట్కి వస్తాయి అన్నమాట. ఓకే, సో దానివల్ల సైజ్ అనేది ఇంక్రీజ్ అయినట్టు కనిపిస్తుంది. ఓకే, సో ఈ ప్రాసెస్ని ఏమంటారంటే ఇన్స్పిరేషన్ అంటారు. ఇన్స్పిరేషన్లో మెయిన్గా గుర్తుంచుకోవాల్సింది ఏంటంటే డ్యూరింగ్ ఇన్హాలేషన్ ఆర్ ఇన్స్పిరేషన్ ప్రాసెస్, వాల్యూమ్ ఆఫ్ ద చెస్ట్ క్యావిటీ will be increased and pressure inside the lungs gradually decreases. As a result of this, atmospheric air rushes into the lungs. Okay, next, during exhalation process, what will happen? Complete reverse. What we discussed in inspiration, we discussed the chest cavity volume increased. Here chest cavity volume decreased. Complete reverse we need to discuss. So chest cavity volume decreases in exhalation. Next, what about pressure in lungs? In inhalation it decreases, but in exhalation pressure in lungs it increases. What about passage of air in inhalation? Outside to inside, but in case of exhalation, inside to outside. Okay, so air will comes out from our internal system to the outside environment. Okay, in exhalation process, volume of the chest cavity decreases and pressure inside the lungs increases. So forcibly internal air will comes out from our body. Okay, this is about the role of diaphragm during inhalation and exhalation. You should remind these 2 points, very very important. During inhalation process, volume of the chest cavity gradually increases and pressure in the lungs gradually decreases. Okay, next, during exhalation process, completely reverse. Volume of the chest cavity decreases, pressure inside the lungs increases. Okay, next we are going to discuss page number 31, very very important topic, gaseous exchange between alveoli to capillaries. Capillaries means hair like structures, hair like blood vessels, very very small or minute blood vessels we can see, which can spread over the surface of our Alveoli, where do we observe alveoli? In our lungs. In our lungs there is a chance to see alveoli. Okay children, look at this diagram. So this part is trachea. Trachea is divided into several two branches here. These two branches are called bronchus or bronchi. Okay, these bronchus again divided into so many branches. These are called bronchial trees. Next, this is right lung. Next, this part is left lung. Observe here pleura. Okay, so pleura also we can see. If you take a small part from our lungs, there is a chance to see this type of structures. What do you know about these? These are alveoli sacs. Sacs means room-like structures. In our lungs, there is a chance to see. Here, how many sacs are there? 8 millions of sacs are there in our lungs. Okay, 8 millions of sacs are there. So these sacs means room-like structures. Like this manner, so many room-like structures can be seen in our lungs for the exchange of gases. We are taking atmospheric gases. These atmospheric gases means example oxygen like some other gases will enter into this area. Which area? Alveoli sacs. Here gases exchange can be done. Gases exchange means taking of oxygen and removal of carbon dioxide can be done in the alveoli sacs. Okay, so how does this happening? Now we are going to discuss. Okay children, look at this. So here so many alveoli sacs are there. Out of these so many alveoli sacs, we will consider one sac. So this is one alveoli sac or alveolus. Imagine like that. So this alveoli sac is covered by capillary network. Capillary networks means these are smaller blood vessels. Okay, in blood vessels there is a chance to see blood cells. So imagine these red colored ones are blood cells. Okay, so when we take the oxygen and other gases, these all are enters into the alveoli. So what it indicates? Alveoli contains more amount of oxygen. This more amount of oxygen simply enters into the blood cells. At the same time, blood cells loses carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide simply enters into the alveoli. And then what will happen? Now we are going to discuss. Whenever the blood capillaries loses carbon dioxide, that carbon dioxide will enters into alveoli to bronchioles to bronchus to trachea, larynx, pharynx to nasal cavity, nostrils. Finally, through nostrils, CO2 will come out from our body. So this is the pathway of gases exchanges in our body. Okay children, now all of you observe this table. It is in page number 32. In this table, observe the first column gas, second column percentage in inhaled air, next percentage in exhaled air. It is very important for 2 marks. Look at that table. First gas oxygen, second one carbon dioxide, next one nitrogen. So what is the percentage of oxygen in inhaled air? 21% oxygen we can see in our surroundings. Next, its percentage decreases in exhaled air up to 16. Total 21% in atmosphere, but in a exhaled air it contains 16% only. What about remaining 5%? This remaining 5% is absorbed by our body. Why? In inhalation process we are taking oxygen, carbon dioxide. Its percentage 0.03% in inhaled air, but in exhaled air 4.4%. Its value increases or decreases? Gradually increases. Why? During respiration process our body cells releases carbon dioxide, so its percentage gradually increases. Next, nitrogen. In inhaled air 78%, in exhaled air also 78%. So there is no change in its percentages in inhalation and also in exhalation. What it indicates? It indicates that our body cells doesn't require or doesn't utilize nitrogen. Okay children, now we are going to discuss next topic, transportation of gases. Which gases can be transported in our body? In our body there is a chance to see transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Oxygen and carbon dioxide. Here carbon dioxide is usually transported as bicarbonates in our body. Carbon dioxide is usually transported as bicarbonates in our body. Bicarbonates means, do you know sodium bicarbonate? In physics you can say NaHCO3, sodium bicarbonate. Like that manner carbon dioxide can be transported in our body. So here no need to discuss about carbon dioxide transportation, we need to discuss oxygen transportation. Okay, oxygen transportation. What do you know about the symbol hemoglobin? Hb. Hb means hemoglobin. In our blood we have red blood cells. These red blood cells contains a pigment, colored pigment, red colored pigment. Which pigment? Hemoglobin. This hemoglobin takes oxygen from our alveoli. Okay, blood capillaries already we discussed. These blood capillaries contains blood cells. These blood cells contains hemoglobin. Hemoglobin takes oxygen and then it forms HbO2. HbO2 means oxyhemoglobin, oxygen, Hb, hemoglobin, oxyhemoglobin. So this total reaction can be carried out in our lungs. In our lungs means in alveoli. Whenever oxygen is entered into our alveoli, then what will happen? Alveoli contains more amount of oxygen. This oxygen can be taken by blood cells. Okay, hemoglobin presented in blood cells. So and it forms oxyhemoglobin. This total reaction is carried out in our lungs. Next, whenever this oxyhemoglobin is formed, this oxyhemoglobin will enter into our tissues. Tissues means a group of cells where the oxygen is required. If it goes to those tissues, then what will happen? Oxyhemoglobin undergoes to dissociation and it forms Hb plus O2 again. Hb and hemoglobin, O2 means oxygen again. This oxygen can be utilized by the tissues. Again what will happen? Tissues releases carbon dioxide. Okay, tissues releases carbon dioxide. Though that carbon dioxide combined with hemoglobin and it forms HbCO2. HbCO2 is called carboxyhemoglobin. HbCO2 is called carboxyhemoglobin. This carboxyhemoglobin formation we can see in the tissues. Next, this carboxyhemoglobin will reach us into our lungs. And this carboxyhemoglobin means HbCO2. Whenever it reaches alveoli, then what will happen? It undergoes to dissociation and it releases Hb plus CO2 means carbon dioxide and hemoglobin again. This hemoglobin will enter into alveoli to bronchioles, bronchiole to bronchi. Already we know about it. Finally it reaches through the nostrils. Through the nostrils it will come out from our body. Okay, so like this manner hemoglobin is useful for the transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide in our body. Hemoglobin combined with oxygen, it forms oxyhemoglobin complex. So this oxyhemoglobin can be formed in our lungs. Oxyhemoglobin undergoes to dissociation in our tissues. It forms hemoglobin plus oxygen again. This oxygen is utilized by the tissues. Okay, for its metabolic activities, for cellular respiration, to release the energy. This energy we are going to use. Okay children, in this class we have discussed up to page number 32 to 32. Next, in our NS class we will discuss gaseous exchange in the capillaries to cells and back we will discuss. Okay children, thank you, bye.